How's it going, Tom?
How you doing on this beautiful Sunday afternoon here at 2:29 p.m. on March 2nd? A little late.
March 2nd.
April 2nd.
You got me with the April Fools right there.
I know. I really planned that one out, so I'm glad it landed.
It landed great.
Another cheeky trick by Tom.
Tom's tomfoolery going off right now.
Yeah. Well, geez. There's a lot of noise going on today on my end. Got a lot of wind in the background, and one of my neighbors has decided to discharge a few rounds.
Yeah.
So I think we're up to 4 shots so far. We'll see if they shoot any more.
All right.
Who knows? Maybe this will be evidence.
Yeah.
Boots, why don't you tell the people who you are, what you're about, where you're from, just in case this is the first time they're tuning in.
Yeah, if this is your first time tuning in,
first of all, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the Made for Walking podcast, the #1 animal migration podcast that includes comedy
in the world. Yeah, I mean, welcome to the family. I think that's the most important thing. I think we're more than a podcast, but we're a family here. Exactly. So we would encourage all our listeners to become blood siblings. So you just poke your fingers. You could do your 2 thumbs, put them together with a friend, ideally a fan of the show, and that way you guys can be family.
It'll be awesome. Yeah, no, I am currently a grad student working through college through Geographical Information Science and Technology. My undergraduate is in Environment, Natural Resources, and Rangeland Ecology Watershed Management. And I'm here to spread the good word about the environment.
Yep. So he's the qualified one. My
Tom,
background is in film. I'm not qualified, but I am qualified.
You are qualified.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm just a little nature nut filmmaker here to spread the good word of critters. So I think today we're on our 3rd bonus episode. Yeah. So what an exciting time to be alive for everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and pop a seltzer.
Ooh, which one we got? What flavor?
Boots, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Always plain.
Really? Oh, you are a wild man. I can never do plain seltzers.
Oh, always yeah. I don't trust that flavoring. Like, I love a lemon. I love a lime in my seltzer. But I'll do it.
You're in charge.
I'm in charge.
That's fair.
Plus, if I have them, I drink so many. It's just better.
Yeah. So to give you like an insight of what this episode's going to be about, some of our bonus episodes have been talking a lot about, who we are, and we did an example of a really outstanding person for the environment, which are Rachel Carson episodes. So you should go back and listen to that one once you're finished with this one, if you haven't already listened to Rachel Carson's episode.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
But with that episode, we ended up talking a lot about environmental issues, kind of world issues, things that we were noticing on the news a lot in our current time. Got a little dark, got a little doom and gloom, but we're not a doom and gloom podcast. We're all about having fun.
We're empowering ourselves.
Exactly. And a fun way to talk about in the environment is positive changes we can make together on an individual level and just every which way we possibly can through our efforts.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We figured instead of just leaving everybody by spelling out the problems and the darkness and the potential of a all too soon demise of our existence, we'd provide some solutions. Because, like, what if everybody was talking solutions? Yeah, and that would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Yeah, and I think what we brought to the table today is some big picture ones where, we can kind of look at a big collective effort, but we also brought some local ones that are pretty achievable, I think, with personal and kind of group mentality in the local communities.
Yeah. So, my mic's falling, but I'm going to fix that. Okay.
Perfect.
So I propose, since we each picked 3, we'll take turns working through our list. So, like, you'll say one, then I'll say one, and then you'll say one, and then I'll say one, and then you'll say one, and then I'll say one.
Yeah, I like that. I like a little back and forth.
Yeah, that way nobody gets bored. We wouldn't want that. Okay, well, shucks, you wanna kick us off, Boots?
Yeah. So, with the background in agriculture, the background in farming communities, I grew up in a farming community. A lot of wheat, a lot of barley, a lot of stuff like that. Family had corn farms and stuff. Farming's kind of been part of my life. I mean, ever since I can remember. Personally, I did not grow up on a farm, so I didn't do all that work. But I've definitely like seen it, been a part of that community. And we want to talk about the future of farming. There's a lot of land getting taken up for people, because there's more people around, less farming.
Mm-hmm.
But to have all those people, you need food.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love me some good veggies, and I love some good fruits.
Mm.
But how we grow them isn't super sustainable at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
just with the trajectory. So what I have learned about is hydroponics. Do you know what hydroponics are, Tom?
I believe I do.
Awesome. Yeah, for you, those of you who don't know hydroponics is a way to cut down the area needed for farming because it doesn't require dirt. You don't have any dirt on this farm. It's just water. And it can yield food production in a very big way with the least amount of space possible, which that works in so many different areas because hydroponics can be used in urban settings like cities and stuff. So you can go to downtown Chicago, have a whole building just for hydroponic farming, can yield a ton of food for a lot of people. And just it's you don't lose land, so you don't like cut down a forest to create a new farm. You don't have like Great Depression style like dust bowls happening. You don't have these ideas of pesticides, and because there's no bugs as much because it's all like in contained environments. So it's a pretty awesome thing that I think I'm noticing more and more people are getting into the study of, but they're also creating new and new factories / kind of growing places for these hydroponic gardens. So what are your thoughts on hydroponics?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely grow the best weed, that's for sure.
Nice.
So, I mean, what more do we need to know?
Mm-hmm.
But in all seriousness, I think, yeah, of course, figuring out the most diverse amount of ways to grow food is really important. And I could imagine for maybe places like California or Arizona where you might not have the best conditions or soil for farming, a way to keep food local would be maybe leaning into hydroponics. And yeah.
Definitely. I mean, even Laramie itself is getting a hydroponic farm getting built out here that is hopefully gonna, create new jobs. It's gonna hopefully help with like food desertification. Just a lot of like issues around food.
Yeah.
And the environment, because food is part of the environment. It's part of the human environment, but it's also part of just like the land that we're living on.
Yeah. And if you're doing it somewhere pretty sunny, like I said, California, Arizona, the nice thing is there's an easy way to kind of make the exchange of where does that power come from to run this plant. I mean, I don't know where the water is going to come from, but at least the power, you do have that sun potential. Yeah, so that I think that's pretty cool, and definitely I think something we'll see more and more of, as we move forward, and to think about like more fresh food directly in the city.
Exactly. Cities and urban spots that don't have like fresh produce available to them. This gives them an opportunity to get that there for a lower cost.
Right, because I mean, I wonder how sustainable is rural areas supporting these urban centers, like supporting these New York cities, Los Angeles, and whatnot. There's only one New York City. I don't know why I made it plural, but yeah, I don't know. I think that could be pretty cool. As we'll talk in our next bonus episodes, I don't want to get too much into it. I think thinking about making smaller farms in the future is probably really important, and making fresh food accessible to everyone is important. I mean, it'd be great to see the city just, instead of building more buildings, just actually building little farms.
Mm-hmm.
But hydroponics would be acceptable in addition to those types of things for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, celebrated even. And a great way, I mean, I guess it'd be a great way to grow things in the winter as well. and keep year-round production going.
Yeah, because it's just one of those things that yields a lot of like possibilities for a lot of different things. Seasonal foods can become like year round. Yeah, you're able to grow constantly and have that accessibility, which I think is a super awesome like way to produce food at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do it. I remember when my buddy Joe moved to Colorado and didn't have a backyard. He started a small hydroponic grow situation because he likes plants and still wanted to make sure he could grow like some food or some plants just for fun.
Yeah, no, and that's the cool thing about hydroponics. I talked a lot about like these big places that are growing it for like high yield for a lot of food, but like this is something you can do in your own kitchen or your own backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cost effective once you get the right setup going. It's a lot of initial costs at first
Sure.
with it, getting the proper setup and such, but you could end up producing a lot of your own food. Or if you're not into doing like the big gardening, you could do spices and you can get some basil, get some herbs, get out there and maybe try a new, if you don't have a green thumb like sitting in the backyard pulling weeds, try some hydroponics.
Yeah, just program an Arduino board and it'll take care of the rest. Yeah, I mean, to kind of piggyback not just off hydroponics again, but I think it's important for us to start just thinking of growing our own food as maybe an essential part of our existence. I mean, it really is already in the human DNA, with hundreds to thousands of years of development of growing crops. So I think we should keep it going. I think there's a surrender of freedom in some ways by being completely reliant on farming. And especially industrial farming, which I mean, it's just the facts are out that everything from treatment of the animals to chemicals on the food are just linked to bad stuff.
Exactly. It's just
yeah.
It's not sustainable for the long haul. It's a lot of short-term gratification.
Yeah, I think it's been leading us down the wrong hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, hydroponics. If you can support businesses that are starting hydroponics, and if not, maybe start your own little garden to see if it works out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, what do you got? What's one of your solutions to the world?
All right, I think what I'll start out with is economic reform, and I'm going to lean this into community development because I do want to kind of tie it into the how we could start at a communal level and kind of brainstorm that with you, and of course the ideal federal level, which may never happen.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. I guess maybe I kind of want to start off with this theme that I think we're working towards, of kind of this quote unquote radical community development. I feel like it's important to realize that it's pretty probable that the government is just a conglomerate of corporations looking out for their own greedy interest and doing the minimum they can to keep society from rising up. I think that's a reasonable takeaway at this stage in the game.
Anti-class consciousness.
So, yeah, saying that, I think figuring out what we can do to build stronger communities. So there's like, okay, there is this government entity that there's pretty much no way to avoid, but we could still build communities to to strengthen our bond and strengthen us as no matter which way the wind's going to blow, on a global level. I can't see how it would hurt to have a strong community. So saying that, all right, the ideal reform, like what I think this will be an open discussion thing, but I it would be super cool if we could, like, all right, step one, let's abolish homelessness. Let's just get rid of it.
Yes.
We have it. Let's not have it. And putting a lot more effort into, rehabilitation of people and taking care of people. And this will kind of probably go into my next point. I'm just going to not mention healthcare because that's going to be a separate point.
Okay.
because I think it deserves its own category. But so we'll just say like free access to health care for mental and physical health. That'd be a great step one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe having some kind of, minimum income for everyone. Like, maybe we're pumping out at least $20,000 to $30,000 per person to live,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds like a lot, but, I could easily just start pulling up how much every missile fired from the military costs.
Exactly.
And, the amount of subsidies we give to the super rich, but don't think to allow the individual citizen to have out of this whatever brain mashing and mind washing to our self-esteem has occurred, we sometimes, I think, as society feel undeserving of getting some help. But yeah, I think just, it would also lead us into better health by taking away some amount of economic anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be really great. Yeah. I think that would be a super good start. I don't know. What are some ways you think we could do? It's a big question. Economic reform. On what comes first? What comes first?
What comes first to me always social safety nets.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you touched on healthcare and the minimum wage. I think there's just so many ways we can help bolster a middle class.
Yeah.
We talk about the ultra rich. We talk about a lot of those kind of people, these corporations, and they're shrinking down that middle class.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people want to be in life.
Yeah.
And I think social safety nets is the number one key. We got to make sure the people are taken care of.
Yeah.
Because crime is a subject of poverty. That like there's correlation between those things. Like you have these areas of people not getting food. We talked about food deserts earlier segment. That's a social safety net that you can provide people with nutrients. There's stuff like that. Social security could get bolstered for people. Retirement ages being more accessible for people. Like there's just so much you can do to let people live their lives without this idea of working your entire life to earn 10, 20 years of free living.
Yeah, I think exactly. I feel like we got to get rid of this Batman mentality. And what I'll call the Batman mentality is like, Batman's that mega billionaire and he spends all his money just on fighting crime, not investing in like schools, hospitals. So, I think we gotta get out of some of the Batman mentality and realize, crime, that's a great example of that, that being something that society creates and allows. And, that's why there's so, why policing is terrible and how it's being implemented. Because it's like, you can't even blame people for losing their mental stability and doing something extreme when there's no signs of upward mobility. And there's, a lack of good food, a lack of nutrients. I mean, I can think of plenty of spots in Philadelphia that it's hard to get food, and there's plenty of spots everywhere, the South, the West, the North, that if you just don't have the money to pay for the gas to go to the good grocery store or a vehicle in general.
I mean, here at the University of Wyoming, the statistic is, if I remember correctly, out of every 5 students here, so already paying a lot of money to go to school or working real hard to get those scholarships so they can go to school. I think it's either 2 or 3 out of those 5 are food insecure.
That's terrible.
That's a lot of people. There are around 10,000 students here. So 2 out of 5 out of 10,000, and that's a minimum. That's pretty unacceptable in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely sounds so uniquely American, spending so much money to get a college education and in turn sacrificing nutrients.
Exactly. And like families, but then you see there's a lot of McDonald's around. It's a lot of fast food, not just to shout out McDonald's, but just like a lot of fast food places, a lot of places that if they do sell produce, it's very expensive to buy. Where it's just cheaper to grab, quick carbs and that's about it.
Yeah, and that stuff's just barely food. I mean, they're quite literally just in general just grinding up scraps, that they've been frozen and then processing it with chemicals to make it taste objectively good, but then feel so bad.
Yeah, it's like, we're lacking. I think it's just a lack of care for
Truly.
the majority of the population. I think there is a subsect of people who do get taken care of.
Yeah.
Because they can afford to be taken care of, which is, I don't find very okay. I think that majority of people no matter what you think, no matter ideology, no matter what you've done in life, you should always have the availability of social safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in human connectivity and connectivity to all beings. So, what's happening to Boots is happening to me. And what's happening to someone who's in a terrible predicament that I don't know, that's also going to happen to me. And it's really going to affect how we feel. But America really promotes rugged individualism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of my favorite authors, Steinbeck. Classic. What is the Steinbeck quote? It's from Grapes of Wrath. Have you ever read Grapes of Wrath? In high school, had to do all your reports.
Yeah, I read it, and then we actually watched it in a film history class in college as well. It's a good movie.
It is. I think it's one of the better books, but I think the quote goes that the reason socialism, or not socialism, but just like the idea of a collective in America is nearly unobtainable, is due to every citizen seeing themselves as an embarrassed capitalist.
Oh.
Or in the sense that they see themselves, they're working to be that millionaire. They're gonna be that successful person. They're gonna make it if they just work hard enough.
Yeah.
But it's on an individual level, which is unfortunate, because if the collective worked that hard to advocate for the collective, we would end up becoming more successful in our day-to-day lives, I think.
I mean, that's some capital T truth right there. And the psychological games or that are like really just we're all kind of going through is like that shame factor of not being a good capitalist is like, ooh, I don't want charity. I want, it's like,
you're going to be the guy in the garage who creates the next thing in the world, like that changes the world. Yeah. And that'll make you millions. Yeah. Which in reality, it's probably not going to happen for most of us.
Yeah. And it's not a sustainable model to just, let some people go and starve and then other people have way too much.
Yeah. Yeah, no. If you ever want a good, book on, I think, poignant points on capitalism in America, go read The Grapes of Wrath, audience. It's truly, if you read it in class and you hated it, I really encourage you to go reread The Grapes of Wrath on your own volition. Does well for the psyche, in my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Economic reform.
Yeah. And I guess now I think we kind of discussed at a federal level, and briefly we could talk at a communal level. Like, what do you think? How do you think we implement that?
How do we implement that? I mean, one of the best ways is to talk to your local legislation. Being involved in it, seeing your candidates and stuff, but also proposing ideas for them. Yeah. One of the things that I brought to the table, especially when we talk local legislation, or, we talk big legislation, bring it down to local legislation, is a climate action plan.
Yeah.
Do you know what a climate action plan is, or a CAP?
No. Talk to me.
All right. So it's super cool. I actually worked on one for the Teton County in Jackson. Cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it really showed me what a community could do to involve itself in local legislation with the ideas of climate. And climate then itself worked into social and benefits for the community. A climate action plan is a comprehensive policy tool outlining specific actions that a community will undertake to lower greenhouse gas emissions or adapt strategies so the community will counter the negative effects of climate change.
Nice.
It's a really cool thing. And the best part about it, it can work with so many different people in so many different ways. So, I mean, climate action plans, you hear that and you're like, oh, what? Carbon capture? Oh, we have to like do less greenhouse gases. Like, how do you do that?
Stop everyone from farting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, cows have to wear diapers all day.
Since we already have corks from wine bottles, I think you know where I'm going with this.
I think that's just, yeah, it works. But it can be as simple as like trying to push for a bus line to be implemented in your town, which is something that is obtainable for a lot of populous areas that maybe aren't big, super big cities like Philadelphia and New York.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you live in like a college town that doesn't have a very good bus line, you can push for a climate action plan to create a bus line.
I got a fun fact for you. So here in Lake Tahoe, there's a really solid public transportation system. Basically, there's a free bus that goes from here all the way up to the next town over, Truckee. So, I mean, yeah, it goes all around the Lake Tahoe. And there's also a free ride service called TART, where it's basically free Uber, and a bus comes and picks you up. It might have some other people in there, you know, making pickups and drop-offs. But the reason it was implemented is because Lake Tahoe is the DUI capital of the country. Yeah, so they had to figure something out.
Exactly. You can figure that out. Some of the other ones are government buildings have to become like solar powered, wind powered.
Yeah.
Alternative energy sources towards federal buildings. Those are things you can push for. And I mean, there were some ideas that were even like wild, like grants and tax benefits for having grass roofs on your house. You know, and you know, there's just a multitude of ideas. But when you bring these climate action plans, you talk to like local politicians about what they can do to create one of those, the community can get involved in those.
Yeah.
So say you have you're a business owner, local business owner, you can say, hey, you know, I want these kinds of things to help better the environment of the community. Yeah. Because when you help those negative side effects of climate change, when you create a better living environment for the environment, people's health changes in a more positive way. I mean, so far as like planting trees on the sidewalks, that can lower the temperature of streets in the summer, which oh yeah, little things can have the biggest impacts. And like doing that, like planting those trees for the cooling of the temperature, well, that'll allow like people to be less frustrated in the summer, because you know, when I get super hot, I get cranky. I'm not a fun person to be around when I'm like sweating through my shirt.
Yeah.
And so you do those little things.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Exactly. But I mean, it's just those little things that can create a better living environment.
Yeah.
Because when the environment's becoming more livable and becoming better suited, the quality of life that you live in is also improved.
Yeah.
So I highly encourage a lot of people to reach out to local like politicians and such and just say like, do you have a climate action plan in this community? Yeah. If not, maybe start advocating for one. And you can become part of that committee as well. Not even that you don't have to be a politician, but you can just be, you know, everyday person who can start becoming part of those committees.
I mean, that's all it takes is some ordinary people. And just find the local issues that you think are impacting your climate. Find solutions. If you got dirty water, let's do river cleanup projects. Boom.
Yeah, and like you organize those things, you get grant funding. There's so much grant funding from large scale businesses who are willing to give money for climate action plans.
Nice.
Yeah.
Plot, plan, organize. Exactly. Organize these groups. There are power in numbers.
There are. And, you know, having those people in power work alongside the everyday people, I think that can be pretty powerful.
Definitely. And if those politicians, I mean, the more pressure that's put on them, the better chance at having these changes we have better chances at having these changes being made, you know. Thinking about re-elections, those politicians are, so.
Exactly. Yeah. Use what they want to your benefit.
Yeah, definitely. You got to play the game here.
Exactly. And say we're not getting out of the game. Might as well play it for
Yeah,
our favor.
exactly.
So yeah, yeah. That's my solution. Is look into climate action planning within your local community.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. All right. What you got next?
Okay, so up next, I have healthcare reform.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, healthcare is crazy. Lord knows I've got some healthcare debt. And I mean, I'm under the care of the state of Pennsylvania with their cheapest free plan,
Mm-hmm.
and just about covers doctor visits. That's about it. And definitely, I guess, lowers the price, but it's pretty shitty. And so I think, the obvious one is people would feel better if they felt better. And I think there's a lot of people who can't afford to go get health care and can't afford to deal with some of their ailments, whether those are chronic issues or or a one-time issue. I mean, one time, like, we'll elaborate more on this someday. I got bit by a rattlesnake, and that cost about $500,000.
Yikes.
Thankfully, I got that bite while I was under the age of 26, under my dear old dad's health care, who worked his butt off to make sure we were all insured. So I think we only had to pay $3,000 of that. So that was a solid. That was worth it.
That's worth it. Would you do it again?
No.
Not that worth it then.
No, that it was fun. It was fun the first time, but it's just one of those things you try once.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think I mean it's just obvious why healthcare reform is really important. I think running healthcare like a business is pretty scummy, pretty sus, pretty sus thing to make money off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Making money off cancer patients. What?
Yeah, dialysis is a profitable market. Cleaning out kidneys. Yikes.
And you think about how much money they're making and what that could incentivize them to do, like not support great organic food and a relaxed lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like you pay so much money to get, life-saving treatment.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, like, damn, do we even have like clean water in certain places due to you guys? Do we got like parks? I mean, there's not even like, there's nothing being done for anybody.
Right. Well, and it's like, if you put 40 hours in at a desk job,
mm-hmm.
there's a good chance you'll definitely need to use that healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's like, it's a pretty tricky system that they've come up with, kind of putting people in a pretty unhealthy life, with having to work full time to get benefits to live. But I think a lot of jobs are really harmful to human health.
Mm-hmm.
And so to kind of go past that, I think would be, in addition to healthcare, would be mental health care. I think like, we live in a mass psychosis,
mm-hmm.
which again, it's tricky because it's like definitely kind of this manipulated way to rule society. So I could see why there's not strong incentives for more accessible mental health care.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought some benefits of that could be, all right, this is something I always think of, and we're going to get heavy here.
All right, we're going to get heavy.
Okay. What's something really, really terrible that happens like once a week that society is growing numb to?
The school shooting situation?
How'd you guess?
Because there was one last week.
I know. It's really sad. It's so intensely sad. It's challenging to talk about or even respond to.
Mm-hmm.
But so with this immense amount of school shootings, there's a lot of calls for gun reform,
mm-hmm.
which is really important. I mean, I think it's unlikely to see guns just removed from this country. And of course, something else to take into consideration is that a lot of this country is really rural.
Mm-hmm.
And guns are important to the culture to, gather food and stay safe. Like there's legitimate uses for guns.
Definitely.
It's a tool. What?
It's a tool it's a tool.
It's a tool. Exactly. And I remember a few years ago, there's a tweet, calling to ban AR-15s in high-capacity magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else tweeted, well, how am I supposed to kill the 20 to 50 feral hogs that run into my yard and attack my children?
You need to watch out for the feral hogs of America, people.
Literally.
It's one of the all-time tweet right there.
One of the best tweets. And before the show, Reply All kind of went belly up. Are you familiar with that podcast?
I am not, no.
Well, really great podcast, especially in the early days, and then eventually one of the hosts got canceled, and I haven't really listened to it since. But they did a whole episode on that tweet about feral hogs and a whole deep dive into the hog industry, and just the ecological sensation that is wild hogs.
Yes, we definitely need to do an episode on the wild hogs.
Yeah, definitely. So okay. So there's like the legitimate uses. Then, of course, there's people who pretty much have, I think, guns ingrained in their religion and maybe ingrained in their own psychosis as something they really need a lot of to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of equate this to de-escalation and how to maybe de-escalate a situation. So thinking about policing, one thing I think we've all called for is de-escalation training.
Yeah, definitely.
Police do have a strong, most police have a strong tendency to escalate situations.
Mm-hmm.
So that always generally ends poorly with people getting shot.
Yes.
So my thoughts are, if there was any gun reform before we start with it's just an order of operations thing. I would love to see more stringent gun laws, make it, have psychological tests, have necessary training.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally things like subsidized by the government. So, whoever's owning a gun has at least, those things are whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too far into the gun reform thing because it's, not something I know a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like step one would be to de-escalate the situation and help people grow more mentally healthy.
Okay.
Would be a great step one. And of course, like, obviously people who are committing mass shootings, I tend to give them, I'm not saying excusable, but I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're probably extremely mentally ill.
Yes. Well, and you always hear that, and you see a lot of tweets that come out, a lot of posts or people on TV saying it's not a gun problem, it's a mental health problem.
Yeah, I believe that's a good old Joe Rogan quote right there.
Exactly. Or Joe Rogan, anybody you see online who wants to talk about this issue, but what's their solution?
Yeah, and I would argue it's a gun problem and a mental health problem.
Yeah, you can have both.
You can. It's a very American combination, is to have that combination of things: a mental health problem, and and there's a gun problem. So I keep feeling like, this country is lost in mass psychosis. And it doesn't surprise me that, I almost see this, at this stage of the game, I should be recognized as societal collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, definitely a symptom of there being a really unhealthy society.
Yes.
But I think, it's how, I think everything's kind of, tied to each other. Everything's linked in this chain that there's so many societal problems economically, with healthcare, and with the environment, that at a certain level it's no surprise that people are going off the fucking wall.
Yeah,
and this is just, I think we're just going to keep seeing this. I think it's going to get worse unless we make a whole environmental change. And I think depending on, who knows how gun reform will be approached, but I think that's something that could really trigger additional violence and additional divisions between people if it's not approached with very delicately. No,
and just to add on to that, is I say we talk about this unhealthy environment we're living in.
Right.
If we create the healthy people, which we definitely have the means to do so.
Mm-hmm. We have the
the money. We can stop giving it to aircraft carriers who patrol the sea doing nothing.
Yeah, just I mean, it's just insane. It's just
Exactly.
insane as what's tolerated. Cause,
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, these people don't have teeth. Well, that's
yeah.
just the problem, you know? Oh, well, I guess you just don't get to go to the dentist because you couldn't afford to. And teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. I love teeth. Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I polish them.
Exactly.
I love my teeth.
You have teeth, you have broken bones, you know, someone breaks a leg and they, can't afford to go fix it properly. That can have big impacts on your life.
Right. I mean, yeah. Going back
Yeah.
to healthcare, I'm thinking about the last time I got injured, which was a sporadic infection in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty intense. It was not great.
Okay.
And I had to go get a light surgery, do the whole thing. And, I was in a lot of pain afterwards. And my job at that time was making pizzas for a restaurant. And at so many levels, I was just not in shape to be making pizzas for a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Open wound, in pain, just can't do it. So it's like you get these twofold hits. I mean, I'm super lucky that, what am I going to do? I got the medical care anyway because, when you have these types of, it's just one step away from a blood infection, which is a step away from death. So I'll take the debt, whatever. I'll give them $10 a month for the next 50 years. Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
You got to play games.
But it's unfortunate that you had to do that.
It's unfortunate that I'm doing it. So it's just like the twofold hit of getting served with about $6,000 in healthcare debt, and I'm out of work.
Mm-hmm.
And, thankfully I have safety nets through family. I see that as a major gift. And there's just so many people who just don't have that through their family.
No, yeah. I mean,
when they're hurt.
Yeah, we're talking about coverage and stuff. Right now I'm trying to find a therapist, but I'm
Same.
limited. Yeah, but I'm limited by the options of what my insurance is going to allow.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer because
Which
I'm
is
sitting here,
just
I'm
such a bummer. It should just be therapy is just
I can find someone. It'd be easy for me to find that right therapist. Go to a bunch of them. Be like, oh, this person didn't work out for me. This person might be better.
Yeah.
But I'm limited, and me even saying that covered by insurance is a massive privilege that I will recognize.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
They just have to unfortunately sit there with mental not even illnesses, but just if they need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
If they need to figure out some solutions for problems in life,
Yeah.
they're unable to find reliable sources of qualified people because they might just be making pizzas and they can't afford to go do that.
Yeah.
Which is awful.
Yeah. And then you get, then the next step is just looking to some hyper masculine podcaster for a mental health figure and
So thank you for choosing to listen to the Made for Walking podcast.
The
most hyper masculine podcast on the platform.
Yeah, me and Boots, a couple of hyper masculine guys.
I would say I got the beard. We got some masculinity going.
Yeah, I removed my beard, so we are now about 15% less masculine. But luckily, Boots is holding down the court.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a mental health, not even mental health, but just a healthcare reform would be awesome.
Yeah.
Are there any ways you can think of creating that reform?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we'll always get to the step, push it through legislators, keep pushing for mental health reform or health reform in general. But yeah, how could we do it at a community level? I wonder, I wish it was more common to not have to feel like the failed capitalist, but what if it was really common to there was a Craigslist just for needing money for important things. I mean, I guess you have GoFundMe and stuff. But just I wish there were ways to just channel community funds quickly or just directly and it without stigmas to support things like therapists. And
maybe normalize maybe normalize healthcare?
Normalize healthcare. Yeah, I mean, I think removing stigmas, removing shame from our society, which has been ingrained in a lot of ways. With my next point, with our education style, through a lot of religion, shame is a major use or a major strategy of the ruling class. So I think there's a lot of shame just to ask for help.
Yeah.
And so the idea of there being some kind of some kind of method to ask for help and get help through finance is just feels so lost from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems like there's just such a stigma on charity,
Yeah.
when really it's like, yeah, it's a shame that we need charity, because what charity does is just a band-aid on the failures of our ruling, or the ruling class.
Yeah.
It's just this band-aid. So it's just like charity has a, to ask for charity can be such a stigma for so many people, and especially throw it out to men,
Mm-hmm.
being scared to ask for help because it would be this way to have masculinity challenged.
Yeah.
So that, just specifically, that leaves a lot of men in a disadvantage there. Not, I don't want to be like men have problems, but
Yeah.
I think that's a specific thing
Mm-hmm.
that should be addressed, because I think a lot of the the male problems stem from not being able to get help or ask for help or say I'm not okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's a byproduct of the patriarchy. We talk about the patriarchy's impact on women, and it's god awful. And yeah, like this idea of like
Yeah.
feminism applies to everybody.
Yeah. It helps everyone.
Helps everyone.
It helps everyone.
Helps every single person on the planet. So
Exactly. I
Yeah,
know.
maybe-
It's so funny that it seems so threatening,
yeah.
which also just like shows the fear that that the toxic masculinity holds, that what it really is clinging to fear,
Mm-hmm.
or else feminism wouldn't be so intimidating.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
just the
so-
thought of losing something that
So-
scares, I think.
Destigmatizing asking for help, whether that be in the ideas of asking someone to talk to,
Yeah.
asking for advice on maybe like where to go to therapy,
Yeah.
or even charity. If you're having that tough a time affording something, like don't be afraid to ask, because
Right.
there's a lot of kind people out there who will find it. Yes, it's a failure of the ruling class and the society
Mhm.
that we're living in, but we got to find ways to find our success
Mm-hmm.
within this game that we're playing.
Right.
And that might be one of them. So yeah, I like this idea of like communal healthcare reform.
Right. Yeah, it would be cool. So cool if we could create communal safety nets.
Yes.
How to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, that one's hard.
Yeah, it would take a lot of organization,
Mhm.
but it would be a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All right. What's
All right.
next on your list, Boots?
My next list, I'm gonna kick it to one that's kind of out of left field here, real quick.
Yeah.
Not been something it doesn't piggyback off anything we've talked about. Let's improve our lawns.
That, I've also thought about, that's on my mind too. I would love to see some lawn improvement.
Yes. So what we have currently in the society is what is called groomed lawns, and they promote zero biodiversity within our natural environment, which stinks.
It does stink.
And a lot of the reason is because it's an antiquated ideology. It comes from
Mhm.
the ruling classes of the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. Just like a lot of things.
Exactly. It's like this. It's like I don't dress in Victorian wear.
I
know?
noticed that, and I was wondering what's going on with you.
I know, right? Because like all the lawns outside
You
look
never
like they're
dress in
from the
Victorian
Victorian
wear
age.
anymore. Are you okay?
Yeah, but like our lawns are dressed up like Victorian castles. We're not living in Victorian England.
No.
We're living in a beautiful, obviously one of the largest countries on the planet. It's like third or fourth, so pretty big. But why do all the lawns look the same when all the
Yeah.
areas don't look the same?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to improve that, I think.
Yeah.
We need native plants to
Native
our
plants.
areas.
Uh-huh.
So what grows out in Wyoming
Yeah.
is going to be different from what grows out in California.
That's
and
true.
what's different from Illinois to
Uh-huh.
Maine to
Uh-huh.
Florida. We got to get the plants that like call
Yeah.
that place home. We got to get those planted back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there are better plants to be planting than Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass is honestly one of the most common grasses we see, and it sucks. It's not very water efficient. It's not super great to take care of. It's annoying to take care of. So what we can do to improve that is, a lot of people think, oh, we'll just get rid of lawns.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen people just switch lawns to maybe like rocks and gravel and mulch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that might work a little bit, but it has some pretty negative consequences as well. It actually raises the temperature of your household.
Bummer.
Bummer.
Bummer in the
It
summer.
does not allow the water to get into the soil, which
Yeah.
we need some water in our dirt. We need some mud.
Yeah. Got to hold on to that stuff. It's
Yeah,
pretty valuable.
exactly. So yeah, we got to get native plants planted,
Yeah.
and they're easier to maintain. They take less up. They take less water, and they
Yeah.
look better, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. And what I've seen some people do, like, again, Nate, or what's recommended in the book, How to Grow More Fruits, Vegetables with Less Water and Land That You Ever Thought Was Possible,
Mm-hmm.
is actually like turning your whole yard into a garden.
Yeah.
Use like it's valuable space. It's just very normal to hide your garden or just make sure it takes up a small section so you can have a pretty useless plant grow all over the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And when you plant plants that belong in those places, it's better.
Yeah.
And you can do so much with it. So say you don't want to create a garden of
Yeah, sure.
tomatoes. You don't want that.
Right.
You're more of a flower person
Sure.
because they're beautiful. They're awesome. I love seeing love flowers. Find out what flowers grow super well in your environment
Yeah.
and plant those, because if they grow well in your environment, probably means that they belong there.
Yeah.
And it's better for the bugs, and
Exactly.
the birds, and
The bees.
The bees. We love the bees.
Yeah,
Everyone
like if you like seeing honeybees, if you like seeing butterflies, if you like seeing cool different birds. I mean, I remember the first time I started composting, I saw a significant change in the amount of life action in my backyard. Because it just brought in more bugs, which brought in more birds to come eat new bugs.
So when you saw that life action, how did it make you feel inside?
I think it no exaggeration when I say magical. You know,
Exactly.
it's magical seeing shifts in like positive shifts for life in an environment, and getting to like build that, being a bioengineer of sorts.
I might have lied earlier when I said this has nothing to do with what we've discussed earlier today. So mental health, there is something called environmental mental health,
Yeah,
where it is where you allow the environment to be part of your life
yeah,
in a capacity that works for you. So
mm-hmm.
maybe you can't go hike the entire Appalachian Trail because that's not sustainable for your
Right.
lifestyle, but
Right,
maybe planting some grass or some flowering plants that work best in your environment, and you get to watch the birds outside from your window, that is super good for your mental health.
yeah,
Improves the well-being of, honestly, the environment, but yourself.
yeah,
We got to build ourselves up better.
yeah.
And
We are part of the environment.
exactly. And if we're going to impact the environment, because no matter what, every animal on the planet impacts the environment,
Yeah,
whether it be us, whether it be beavers, whether it be elephants, or
mm-hmm.
dragonflies, there's impact.
Mm-hmm.
Why not make good impacts?
Exactly. A healthy community starts with me.
Yeah. So with that lawn thing, just to make sure we're not just talking, saying do all those right things. Some of the steps you go through to create a more biodiverse lawn is, first, if you live within a homeowners association type area, check and see what the rules are and regulations, because we don't want you to get fined. We don't want you to get in trouble for planting cool plants.
Yeah.
Because some people just love shitty lawns, in my opinion.
And in that case, that's when it's time to start organizing with your neighbors and challenge your local HOA.
Yeah, exactly. If you live in a rental and you're not able to plant, if you're not able, if you don't own the space, I shall say, talk to your landlord.
Yeah.
Show them the benefits of having a better lawn. It'll honestly probably raise the price of that land, or the not the price but the value.
Yeah.
And they're always looking for more value.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the house we used to rent. By we, I mean my friend Bryce and I used to rent in Philadelphia, and how important plants were. I mean, we just made sure we had a lot of plants in the house, which is also good because that house was over 100 years old. So, it's obviously decaying, which brings in mold and fungus and bacteria. So just making sure, we have a little extra help to create some oxygen was important. And our backyard was completely cement, but it was real. Like the design was really simple. We just took wooden boards, 2 wooden boards, and put them in the corner, filled it up with dirt, grew plants, and then
Exactly.
we were able to source a lot of pots and plants from our family and friends, and just said we were looking for plants. And I mean, we had a moderately successful garden back there, with food and flowers and non-flowering plants. And I don't know, everyone who came by agreed it was very special. And
Yeah.
we'd have fires, and we'd be surrounded by plants, even though we were in the middle of the city, right? Literally, the subway being 50 feet away from us. It was still, it really did create an oasis that was definitely essential for my mental health living in the city.
That's magical.
Yeah, man.
Love that. Yeah. And then last piece of advice for that is, if seeds can be expensive depending on the amount you're going to be buying and stuff like that, check your local library, people.
Oh.
Local libraries tend to have a planting program.
Yeah.
They do have seed catalogs. They have those things, and they are willing to. I do know that the Albany County Public Library here in Laramie, Wyoming, does have a seed garden that you are allowed to just go over and ask for seed packets, and they will provide them for you for a library card membership. That's
Wonderful.
That's free. That's free seeds.
Yeah. And again, like just spreading the word, telling people in your community, seeking out community gardens maybe to collaborate with. If you tell people you're looking for plants or you're looking for seeds, like some seeds are going to find you. Mm-hmm. Gardeners want other people to garden.
Yeah. And I know nobody who's against plants. Everyone loves them.
Plants rock.
Plants rock. So yeah, I guess one of the most, I think, personal things you can do, because, sometimes we talk about community and stuff like that, but sometimes it's hard to find that community. But you as an individual can do things still. We don't want to take away the idea of individualism in that sense, that you can still make an impact yourself.
Right.
Let's look at our lawns and improve them. I think that's and if you start that trend, your community might start a trend, and you take a stroll down the street and you get to look at beautiful different lawns, and that seems fun.
Yeah. I think about like a sticker that maybe ASPCA would hand out with, like, when you adopt a dog, like who saved who. Mm-hmm. And I think I think you could apply a similar thought when you're helping the earth heal, whether that by like planting native plants. Yeah. You're going to heal the earth, and that's going to heal you back. The universe smiles upon the green thumbs of the world.
Yeah. Put out good vibes, and good vibes come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. All right, what's our last way to kind of help our environment, whether it be the human environment or the natural environment?
So, at first, I decided to switch my third to education reform.
Ooh, baby, am I a big fan of that.
Ooh, I know. It made me so excited that I had to stretch.
I have a lot of family in the educational system, which is why I am super on board with this.
Yeah, I think the education system is really failing at high levels, at high rates. Mm-hmm. I don't think. I mean, obviously, I only know my public school experience, and what I've observed around other public school experiences. But I mean, yeah, I just don't think. Step one, I don't think people are really wired to sit and learn. I don't think a lot of people are wired to sit and learn for 6 to 8 hours a day. I know it wasn't really sustainable for me, so it just put me at a tremendous disadvantage, because I just wasn't wired to be on a bell schedule and to just sit there and take directions and be talked at that long. So, which also, can affect, going back to a mental health, thinking that there's, inherently something wrong with me. Yeah. When really it's like, oh no, there might actually be, it might be this system that is a bit unnatural. And I think a lot of the system is really just priming people for their jobs, for the 9-to-5 jobs, priming people to follow directions and just work a job without questioning it. System. Yeah.
In my office, building, there's a sign on one of the bulletin boards.
Yeah.
And it just says, "You are whole. The system is what's broken."
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, I think that was put out there more as like a joke thing, like, darn, the computer system isn't good.
Yeah.
I'm taking that more in a literal sense, that maybe the
Yeah.
system that we're working is maybe not benefiting us. And I think
Yeah.
the school system is our earliest encounter with that.
It's the beginning of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it also just doesn't prepare you really for life. And I think there'd be a lot, like, having a more integrated system would be pretty wise in letting kiddos decide what they want to learn about. Like, I think it's great to, like, give people a base of education to know a decent stuff about math, or, enough to get through the grocery store, enough to leave tips, enough to measure a desk before you bring it through a door frame.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I do understand how it can improve our critical thinking. But, like, if we could, like, actually go figure out what kids want to learn about, like, maybe they're interested in gardening, so you explore the math through. There's so much math that goes into farming and gardening. So I think if you served it up to people alongside with gardening and practical examples, like there is a garden at this school, so you are actually just figuring out the math, because when people are interested and motivated, they tend to have a desire to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you're not interested, not motivated, and a lot of times maybe distracted, you're not going to learn.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
And going back to mental health care, I think, and and the economic situation, there's so many people who aren't really in a position to go through that type of schooling, because a lot of people have a lot of really tough stuff going on at home that leave them at such a major disadvantage. Whether that's someone who's going to be pressured into having to go to work early because they need to contribute money to their family,
Mm-hmm.
or people who are just dealing with parents that are mentally ill or physically ill, and then they kind of have to just keep going into school and pretend like things are okay, and when really at home there's could be some major issues that get in the way of learning. And yeah, I mean, I've seen tons of examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much stigmas around mental health and inaccessibility to mental health support that people just keep on keeping on.
Yes.
It's not healthy or sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think school has a lot of that, leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
One of the things I always think about school, and I think a lot of people hear about, teacher salaries.
Yeah, right. That's been pretty hot right now.
Abysmal in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think what it does is it honestly turns away people who would be fantastic teachers.
Yeah.
I think there are probably thousands and thousands of people out there who would be amazing teachers, but they don't consider it due to the economic issues that teaching can cause.
Yeah.
In one's personal life.
Because what's a teacher salary right now? Like 30 to 40K?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not like a lot of money, especially after, I mean, taxes are generally like 30%, 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
So
and
you're bumping that down to not much money with current inflation rates.
No.
You're going to make more money in the food service industry.
Yeah. You're going to, if you work a 9-to-5 kind of like desk job of something you don't love, but your insurance is going to be better.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Going to be better. It's like, why would you choose that lifestyle?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think teachers, if they got the care they need, it could translate down to the students' care too. Because I think a lot of teachers really care about the students.
Definitely.
And they want them to succeed. And the other big problem I have with modern day schooling is standardization testing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not the best. I mean, evaluating kids to determine, like, it doesn't make any sense either. Like, okay, the better the kids do on test scores, the more government money the school gets.
Exactly.
When it's like, if, you want to look, I'm sure okay, there's so many levels on which standardized testing doesn't work, but we'll just, the kids who are going to be scoring lower probably need more resources.
Yes.
AKA more money. And it makes no sense. It's those days are terrible. We had the PSSAs, Pennsylvania Standardized. Yeah, sure. That you had the WSSAs.
The CSAP. Since I grew up in Colorado.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Um,
CSAP testing. And do you remember CSAP? Like, okay, so I remember with our class we did this. I'm gonna ask you something wild. Did you guys have like pep rallies?
Oh God, yeah.
Before,
It was.
where you watched like YouTube videos of
Yeah.
like teachers singing about how cool it's gonna be to take this standardized test.
Yeah. I mean, it was pep
the fuck
rallies,
is that? That is the-
bribes,
What the fuck? That
chocolate
is so
milk,
weird.
lemonade, pretzel sticks, movie day after, pizza
Oh my
party. Like, it's just
God.
nothing made up for what they did.
No.
None of it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, standardized testing I think
It's triggered.
causes it is such a thing for me because I'll tell you why it also
Yeah.
bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I'm not a good test taker.
Yeah.
I'm
me
not.
neither.
I am in a master's degree. I have gone through an undergraduate degree. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing school still.
Yeah.
To this day, quizzes and tests are probably the worst thing I ever function on.
Yeah.
And the pressure put on testing towards kids develops just such a complex within them, I think, and it causes them to fail. It causes the teachers to reflect poorly because the student didn't do good on a test, and now the teacher's at fault for that, and then the school's at fault for that, and then you don't get the resources you need, and it's just this cycle of bullshit, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a pretty dark game that they're playing when you think about it.
Yeah.
I think that kind of brings me to one of my last points of education reform is the content of education. Like just the deeply Eurocentric views that are being kind of handed over in history.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like indoctrination.
Yes.
And oh man, I'm just thinking like one thing that sticks out to me in like 10th grade history was my teacher, Scott Holloway, just going down on Palestine and telling us like how bad they were. Like, like I'm just thinking about him like Palestine wants Israel off the map.
Yikes.
Yikes. and
you're 15, so you
just
better
so
know
impressionable.
about that.
And you know, like I'm like, yeah, we love Jewish people. So I mean, in the midst of those were like Obama years, so like shooting Bin Laden drone strikes and fighting ISIS, it made sense.
Yeah.
I don't hold that belief, to be very clear. Free Palestine, give them their land back. Another thing, in 8th grade, one of our activities was making a cotton gin.
What the fuck?
Like the takeaway from that
What is
time period was,
going on
how
in
innovative was the cotton gin?
What is going on in Pennsylvania? What the fuck is that? Like, I definitely remember some shit where I'm just like, damn, that's probably wrong, but oh my god.
Yeah, it's a weird little place over there.
Because I'm trying to think of like some of the teachings. I do remember my 8th grade social studies teacher.
Uh-huh.
Now, this guy, I don't know how he's sustained his. I won't drop names because I know a lot of people back home are listening about this, and they'll probably know who I'm talking about. I do remember one time, social studies, we're talking about current events going on in the world. Well, who is a current leader in the world? Vladimir Putin. Let's give every kid an article about why Vladimir Putin is actually a great leader and is doing so well for the Russian people. And I was like,
that aged well.
I know. I'm sitting here going like, and that's 2014.
Yeah.
And I'm
so
like,
wait, that's the first that was the year. Well, I won't say the first Ukraine conflict, but like that was the last time the Ukraine conflict.
Everything in Crimea
boiled up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's fucked. I know. I look back on that time. I'm like, why is that guy a teacher? Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are a little strange.
Yeah. Another thing to think about. So another thing to think about. In the book, The Hopi Survival Kit, they kind of lay out the history of the Hopi tribe and what it was like to be colonized. And a specific part of the colonization was taking children from their homes to go to school. And
the
that
reform schools.
Yep. And the consequence was was having the man of the family arrested, so like their father figure.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that just doesn't seem like it really bodes well for school as a concept, how it's being implemented currently.
Well, I mean, crazy. You want to hear a
And
crazy fact about those
Yeah.
reform schools?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone likes to talk about the American genocide of Native Americans.
Yeah.
So Canada was also pretty bad at that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I say Canada, big issues with Native Americans over in Canada and our First Nations like friends.
Yeah.
The last reform school that shut down in Canada was in the 90s.
Oof.
1990s.
That's
But
so
how many
bad.
people know about reform schools in school?
Yeah. You know how like in horror movies they'll be like, oh, that the house was haunted because it was built on an Indian burial ground?
Mm-hmm.
I think the continent's haunted.
Okay, hold up. Wait a minute. Because this could be an explanation for like everything.
I mean, honestly, that's my pitch. You can't really build a country on genocide. Like, it's wrong at a fundamental level.
It's wrong, and we don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because high school mascot?
Oh,
yeah.
What was it?
Indians.
Yeah.
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 Interesting though about the high school that I grew up in, we kept our mascot. We still are the Indians, but we do have a relation with the Wind River tribe.
Yeah.
They have gone through and told us what we can and cannot do with that mascot. They created a new mascot for us, done by the First Nations people.
Huh.
We were only the second school in Colorado to do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Native American mascots in Colorado, like the Eaton Reds, which is pretty bad, and the Lamar Savages.
Boo.
Yeah,
That's disgusting.
there's some bad ones out there.
Yeah.
Schools are weird.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a good thing to touch on in school is to it's just so bad, not to get all doomy and gloomy, but it's worth it. It's so bad to create a country off genocide and to not recognize it and make a real attempt to apologize and make things right. And you could, of course, extend that to things like slavery and racism overall.
Yeah, I think there's a
just
lot of issues.
to apologize to the people that colonialism significantly affected and realize that it's like, I think there's also like this perspective too in my education was like, oh, well, that's just how things were back then. We've obviously evolved by now, but we as white people have forgiven ourselves. So it's all good.
Definitely, and I think it's just important within educational systems is to improve. First off, the pay gap of teachers, absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Creating an environment where kids can perform better.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing I have to say about education is the stigmatism. Not stigmatism. That's your eyes. The stigmatism is
no,
when your
that's
eyes are bad.
stigmatism. Wait, stigma? No, you're right. The
Stigmatism. Yeah.
But if only the people could see.
If only the people could see exactly. We're talking
Eyes,
to the
but
people.
they can't see.
Yeah,
What's going on?
We're so deep. Made for Walking, deepest podcast on this platform.
Our jokes cut deep.
Yeah. No, but dropping the, I guess, pressure of schooling.
Yeah.
I myself have gone to college. I went through the whole thing again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was beneficial for my lifestyle and what I needed in life and what I want to do with my life. I think it worked for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And we need to say that's okay.
Yeah.
To just enter a workforce.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Also, people in the labor force are definitely making good money.
They're making great
because
money.
they can actually adjust their prices with inflation as opposed to being a cog in a white collar machine.
Mm-hmm.
You have much less leverage.
Exactly. And
I'm sure there's plenty of people hurting at the same time, but I have noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Plumbers, carpenters are doing all right.
The trades are doing great. Trade school, promote trade schools in a sense.
It's honestly a much more economically viable decision.
Exactly, because if you don't like business, if you don't like education, if you don't like, agriculture degrees, if you're not well suited for that kind of stuff, and especially with higher education, I think one thing in the public high school sector is big is to a bigger promotion of labor and a bigger promotion of trade school.
Yeah.
I think everyone got to go to college. We're going to college. College. You don't need it. If it's not what you want to do in life, don't. And there's no shame to that. I think there's a lot of people who shame people.
Oh yeah. So much pressure in high school.
So much pressure to go to college. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's very pricey. And if you flunk out or you fail because the system did not benefit you to succeed, there is shame put on you for no reason, in my opinion.
And a bunch of debt.
Yeah, and a bunch of debt. And then you're like, well, why did I do that? It's because everyone told you had to.
Right. And I forget, bullshit. You can defer your college debt for 6 months after graduation. Mm-hmm. But if you drop out, can you still defer it?
I don't know.
I feel like the answer might be no, but I forget.
I don't know. Probably not, based on just the world. Based on capitalistic society. Probably not.
Yeah. I will say, and saying all this, and like you said, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of education.
Big time.
I'm a major critic of school.
Mm-hmm.
But education, and my experience in education was so important. Just not even just for what I learned, but just meeting people from a different world, different perspectives, who are it's just such a right place for development.
Yes.
Yeah, college is both. Yeah, it's yin yang.
Yeah.
And I also went to community college and then transferred into Temple, and
another
also
great option.
Was able to avoid college debt that way. So
yeah, no, great option too for people.
I think there's also a lot of stigma with community college, and it's not flashy. A lot of community colleges can be depressing, and the stigmas are true. But you're gonna get, but you could work while you're just getting those credits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's stop shaming education. Let's
get
that to a healthy place.
Let's
for
chill
everyone.
on the shame stuff.
Yeah.
Let's just all collectively. Yeah.
Let's shame. So how do we fix school? We advocate obviously for higher salaries towards teachers.
Yeah.
If you have children in school, dear listener, maybe consider looking at board meetings at schools. I know they're not super fun to go to. I've been to a few.
Yeah.
They're pretty dull, but they can be very impactful.
Yeah.
Because you can actually put your influence into a better school system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to think about in the future sending a child of mine to school, because I think about all the negative impacts. Plus, at this point, the growing likelihood that they could be shot. It's just horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder, it would be the dream to be able to pool I wonder if it's possible to pool an actual solid, healthy homeschooling situation and co-op situation to make sure kids have a free and educated, free for their mind, body, and spirits, with solid education, with, of course, solid socialization, which I think is probably the major drawback of homeschooling.
Now that you say that, I do know of one school. It's an elementary level schooling system. Mm-hmm. It's a community. Mm-hmm. It's called a Waldorf school. Waldorf. Do you know about the Waldorf schools?
Of course. Yeah, okay. I've had a lot of friends who've worked there.
Mm-hmm. My partner actually she went to a Waldorf school.
Yeah.
She talks about it all the time still. Age 23 talks about the benefits of going to a Waldorf elementary school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's alternatives out there.
Yeah, of course, those ones, there is, of course, an economic barrier. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was if people can take it into their own hands, because in addition to Waldorf, there are great schools that put kids in a natural environment, that let them play in the mud and whatnot. But, that's for the privilege. That's probably, that's upper middle class territory, upper class territory.
Yeah, it can
a place
be.
I ain't ever been.
Yeah, no, there can be. I know there's some. I don't know. Did you ever meet Vortex at Camp Underbrook?
But I forget who he is. Who's Vortex again?
Vortex he went to Seattle the year you came
Oh,
in.
yeah.
Yeah,
of
he's kind of got the
course.
curly hair. Like
No,
a-
wait.
like a-
I f-
He was
he
with
did
Crush.
PNW, right? That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
with Crush.
With Crush, with Vortex from
Vortex.
New York. Yeah.
Yes, upstate New York.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He actually is an employee at one of those alternative schools, and it's actually tailored for underprivileged kids.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so maybe just school systems are very difficult to find, and they have lots of restrictions, but due diligence, do work. You could probably find a positive schooling experience. And if you're a parent, because I don't know if many elementary school or middle school children are listening to the podcast, shout out if you are.
Yeah.
But if you're a parent or someone who is a child caretaker,
Yeah.
in those senses, see what works best for your child.
Yeah.
In the sense of schooling, what works for them. If they are not test takers, see if you could talk to alternatives to tests. Find schools that maybe don't emphasize that kind of stuff as much. See what works
Yeah.
before you just kind of throw them in a system that might be harmful in the long run.
Exactly. And for anyone who might have skipped to the end of the episode and wants the TLDR, I think the too long didn't read here. I guess it'd be too long didn't listen. So the TLDL would be remove shame, remove stigmas, community build.
Community build, yeah.
Stop
Build your
fighting
environment
everyone.
up.
Just
Let's build a healthy environment in
Yeah.
the world.
number
Whether that
one
be
priority.
natural or health or everything.
It's
healthy.
all so connected because it all
connected.
really impacts our environment and our health and our happiness and our
Yeah.
viability as a species. Because we could party till the sun explodes, but that's
Yeah.
our choice.
Exactly.
Well,
Well, thank you so much for listening to the Made for Walking bonus episodes.
yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, no, we want to keep it fun and lively here.
I'm glad we addressed it because I think we were both. I certainly got off that podcast and was like, oh, I don't want to just leave people with my anxiety. I want to really address these things.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I didn't throw this in, but I think we should end war as well.
Yeah. Yeah, war sucks. War's bad. It only profits the select few. And
Yeah,
it
a couple of fat
ruins
cats.
So many people's
So
lives.
many lies. And talking about the benefits of having a mass psychosis, that does create soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's another episode.
That's another episode. All right, then.
Yeah,
So,
well, thanks
I've
again.
been
Yeah,
Boots,
I've been Tom.
and
I always will be until I leave my human form and transcend to a spirit to go to my next life.
yeah, hopefully a butterfly. Or what animal?
If we're talking animals, ooh.
From the first 5 episodes of the
okay.
Made for Walking podcast.
Then it's easy. It's so easy because it's sperm whale.
All right, perfect. There we go. We got a sperm whale in our
What about
existence. Probably mountain lion.
Yeah, that's good. That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. I just want to echolocate squid and eat nightmares.
That'd be sick. Yeah.